And if anybody wants to take charge of a week, come see me. You don't have to say, you can, maybe you want to do some interpretive dance for the next week. I mean, the next, which might be truth or love or one of those things. Right now, I can't remember all the weeks. I just know the third one is joy, and the fourth one is love. So if you have a little spark of creativity in you, or you think you could lead a troop of elves into making a bit of a ceremony, we're here for you. There's a candle waiting for you to light it with however you want to light it. So today, I decided the talk was going to be heartstrings. What tugs on your heartstrings? And I started out by asking people what tugged on their heartstrings, and I realized that I need to get a few more stories. So next week, Paul Selig will give the talk. But the week after, we're going to have your stories. Some of them you might be willing to say, and some of them I'm going to say. But in 2 weeks is really going to be your heartstrings. Because today I'm going to talk a little bit about what tugs on my heartstrings. What's really going to be fun is in 2 weeks. So think about it. Either tell me a story or drop me an email. Talk to me after service. We want to share that. Every Christmas season, it seems like I give one little aspect of a talk the same, and that is how not to be irritated at Christmas. And how not to be judgy about whether it's secular or not secular. The fact that people pretty much all over the world, in many, many places of the world, celebrate this. And however they celebrate it, it has to do with love and family and presents or whatever, I think I tell you every year, my favorite Christmas story is not Bethlehem. It's A Christmas Carol. I just like that transformation. Other people may have The Nutcracker or, whatever, or that movie, The Christmas Story. Is that the one with the boy whose tongue sticks to the, whatever, or White Christmas, whatever your thing is, whatever your story is, celebrate it and remember it's okay. And then the deal about not being irritated is to have hope and release expectations. Have hope that in this season we can be loving and joyful, and then we release our expectations. So one of the first things that tugged at my heartstrings always has been babies. I was the oldest of 8 kids. I swear I remember not my first sister, who was exactly a year after me. I don't remember her, but I remember my brother coming home when I was 2. So there was me, little brunette Cindy, and there was my sister Celeste, little blonde, blue-eyed thing, and I remember my mom bringing home a baby and sitting on the couch thinking, where has my mother been? I think he used to stay in the hospital a lot longer. So I remember that. But I remember liking him right away. And I liked all the rest of my siblings as they came. And every time I see a baby, I just love them. For some people it's dogs, for some people it's cats, for some people it's goldfish. For me, it's babies. I can't see a baby that I don't want to rip it out of its stroller and say, can I hold this, please? I don't do that. But I say, can I make faces at your baby? So hopefully everybody has something in their heart that is guaranteed to get them. And when I am in when I'm out of my, when I'm not in the highest form, let's say, when a little angry imp is driving my bus instead of the highest self, I can think of babies that I know. I can think of my youngest brother, Kinnan. For some reason, he was probably the baby that, when I was a kid, who I knew the most. He was born 14 years after me. I can remember him as a baby so much. How much he brought me into the present and how much joy. So I can remember that, and my mood transforms. So I want, so first of all, everybody here, you think of what it is for you that pulls at your heartstrings that will shift you. Is it maybe you have a really awesome grandma? Or maybe you like nature. Just think of it. I want everybody to have to, and if you do not have something, you call me up and we will figure out what it is for you together. I guarantee it. Call me up, you come meet with me, and we will figure out what your thing is that will help you. Now, travel forward in time, and there's something else that was a big heartstring pulling event for me. I got married, had a baby, got divorced, moved back to Seattle, and I found new thought and unity and a bunch of stuff at the same time. I found unity, I found A Course in Miracles, and I found this training. A lot of people did trainings in the 80s called the Loving Relationship Training. Some people did S, some people did, I don't remember all of them. And it was great. That might have been the first thing as an adult that truly melted me, that melted me. And one of the things I remember, which still cracks me up to this day, is it was called the Loving Relationships Training, and the point of it was that you can have relationships, well, we do have relationships with so many people. And if I have to fix my, relationship with Cindy and with Brian and with Kyle and with Dennis and so on, that's a lot of complex stuff. Instead, I can fix the relationship with myself, right? I can fix the relationship with myself. So I'm going to use this cute little stool to illustrate a point now. And I love that you sang a love song, because a lot of times when we think of relationships, we think of that primary love relationship, right? As a girl who was raised in America in the 60s and 70s and 80s and 90s, I was romantic, and I wanted love and connection, and I decided that what I wanted was, the guy. That was going to be it. I spent a lot of energy wanting the guy. And luckily, I found a whole bunch of them, and worked my way through, and as you do, and learned along the way. Now, think of yourself as when you were still looking for that, or maybe you're looking now. Remember that, and think of how you show up when you've got a coffee date with someone, and you show up and you're shiny and you're bright and you're like, ooh, got coffee with this. This could be the one. This could be my romance. This could be the guy or the girl or the whatever. And so you show up for coffee, but over here is your past. So you think you're going to show up for coffee like this, but you're showing up for coffee like this. Okay, but here's the good news. They're showing up for coffee like this. Right? And the point of all that is to recognize that we are more than our appearance. And even this bunch of baggage and stuff that happened before us is lovable. Lovable. Now, the Buddhists have this really interesting practice. It's an intense thing where you live as if you have 1 year left. You're going to die. So you actually you tell yourself, okay, I have 1 year. I'm going to die. I'm going to kick the bucket at the end of this year. So how would you live? How do you live if you know you're going to die in a year? And How do you live like that? Now, as we all know, we are all going to eventually die. But think about it. It's interesting to me that when I'm thinking about heartstrings and love, how much mixed feelings came up. Like a little bit of a longing comes up when I think about love, and I think about what I want to talk about, and how do we want to grow thinking about love. I'm sure you can relate to this. When we think about love and what hits us smack in the heart, some of it's painful, right? Loss, somebody who did die, some disappointment, the coffee date that didn't work out, the loss of many, many things. And when you think about the movies that you cry at, or the stories that you cry at, there's some loss in there. Or maybe loss isn't the right word. How about this? The transitory nature of everything that we love. So since we're on Earth, we are living in time, almost everything we're going to love is going to change. Everything we love is going to transform. It's going to leave in a way. So if you want me to cry, just like, what is that 100 Years song? We should sing that this season. The 100 Years song. Like every time that plays, I'm sobbing. It's like, first I was 50, and then I was 25, and now I'm 100, and it's like everything is fleeting. So it's a beautiful spiritual practice to think about what will happen if I'm dead in a year. Every time I lose somebody, I think, well, I better appreciate the people who are around me now. Better love the heck out of them. One of the hardest things for me that I ever went through was going to school in Unity Village, which is in Lee Summit, which is by Kansas City, while Roland stayed behind in Florida to run a business and pay tuition and stuff like that. I hated that because I felt like I was always missing him. Even though I loved school, I just loved it. But that was one of the hardest things, and I feel as if it has left me a little bit gun shy. So when he goes on a trip, I always go through a little bit of, oh, I wish you weren't going. And then I get to be alone in the house, and I'm like, okay. But I still feel a little sad. Can any of you relate to that? Like that there's a little bit of a longing for things to be just the way they are, or the way they were, or not to. And here's what I'm here to tell you: our spiritual work is to shake ourselves up so that we can love whatever the heck happens, and whoever the heck is in the room with us. And make sure we go into rooms. Like just don't spend all your time in the bathroom every day all by yourself. Make sure you go into rooms. That is what I think is behind the practice. Now, the Buddha says, I read this, that you are so lucky if you are born a human being. Okay? It's fortunate that you get to be here as a human being. It doesn't, that's good luck. And it is even more fortunate if you are a human being who is aware of enlightenment. If you're a human being and you are seeking your soul's evolution, you are super lucky because, you can look around and recognize that not everybody is on that journey. So this is a rare, fantastic opportunity to be born, to be a human, because you have thoughts and awareness, and to be aware of enlightenment that you are seeking. So every day, your job is to let something tug at your heartstrings, even if it's a little painful. Even if you read the news and you're sad about fires in California, and you can really relate to that, and you feel sad about people who have lost their houses, or a war-torn country, and there are plenty, or people in Des Moines whose families do not have enough food. Their kids in Des Moines. So let something tug at your heartstrings. Don't feel miserable, feel your heartstrings tug, maybe enough so that you bring some food for our little pantry, contribute to DMARC, whatever it is, say a prayer, take 5 minutes and say a prayer for whoever your heartstrings are tugged about. And choose to be engaged. Choose to be engaged with the love. Choose to be engaged in today, in every moment that you have. And really, I really am asking each of you, here's your assignment. Really, I want you to think of what tugs at your heartstrings. And even if you don't share the story with me, share it with yourself. But remember that if you share it with me and are willing to share it with all of us, think of what an awesome time that's going to be in 2 weeks when we get to connect to each other at that deep level, at that deep, loving level where I share what. And I just want to share one more thing. Chris Brown is tugging at my heartstrings with those twinkly lights, I can't explain it, but she came in with those lights and it just made me feel so happy. And I said, you have to wear them all during the service. Because every time I look there, I'm going to be happy. Right? So whatever it is for you, think of how much fun we're going to have sharing that in 2 weeks. All the things that tug at our heartstrings. And I guarantee you that we will also, by the end of that, we are all going to be sobbing into our Kleenex and say, I love you, man. I love you, man. I love you, man. Let's take an offering for unity. I invite you to give your donation, whatever it is. However you give it.